I shall report to you now the main elements of the package of executive orders and emergency legislation I would issue within the first hour after being sworn in as your next president.
Executive Order Number 1. Effective immediately, all new issues of U.S. currency shall be secured in value in international markets with gold reserve denomination, pricing monetary gold in international markets for this purpose at $750 per ounce. Executive Order Number 2. A state of national monetary and economic emergency exists. The powers of the Federal Reserve System: 1. To issue currency in its own name and at its own discretion; 2. To set interest rates; and 3. To operate an inflationary Keynesian multiplier in the central banking system, are herewith suspended for the duration of the emergency. Moreover, the practices of the Federal Reserve System in these suspended activities are discovered to have been in violation of explicit and implied specifications of Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Regulation of national policy in these matters herewith reverts to the agencies specified by that Constitution. Draft Public Law. In accordance with Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, and in response to the national monetary, economic, and national security emergency existing, the Congress authorizes the President to proceed to effect a new issue of $500 billion of U.S. Treasury currency notes, and to suspend all prior legislation which might be construed to impede implementation of this action. 1. These currency notes, as issued by order of the executive branch, shall be distributed solely in the form of loans for approved categories of lending. 2. These currency notes shall be loaned according to instructions of the executive branch through the discount functions of the reformed Federal Reserve System. 3. The charge to regulated banking institutions for use of these monies borrowed for approved categories of lending shall be not less than 2% per annum and not more than 4%. The banks may add reasonable service charges for administration and incurred related costs of risk, as such rates may be within reasonable limits stipulated by the executive branch. 4. There are 5 categories of lending for which these issues may be used. A. Loans to the federal government for emergency defense expenditures. B. Loans for investment in repairs and improvement of basic economic infrastructure to federal, state, and local governments, and to government-regulated authorities and utilities. C. Loans to farmers for capital improvements in land and equipment, and for crop and livestock production and marketing loans. D. Loans to industry producing physical goods for capital improvements in production capacity for research and for operating capital of production and marketing of such goods. E. Export financing credit for hard commodity exports and engineering services. Draft Public Law. Emergency legislation mandating the authorization of an estimated $200 billion to be expended over a period of 4 years to develop and to deploy a first generation of strategic ballistic missile defense using means called new physical principles within that period of time. Diplomatic action. The heads of government and or their designated plenipotentiaries of the Ibero-American member states of the Organization of American States are herewith invited to an emergency meeting to be held at Camp David for the purpose of adopting a draft memorandum of policy agreement covering 2 areas of relations with the United States of America. The first item shall be measures for rescheduling the payment of outstanding debt to the government and nationals of the United States. It is proposed that action be taken on the basis of the executive order reestablishing the U.S. dollar's gold reserve basis, and that issues of schedules of bonds denominated at low interest rates and within gold reserve terms be adopted as the form of financial asset suited to be exchanged for and replace currently outstanding debt. It is proposed on the same point that member states reaching accord on debt reorganization adopt policies, methods, and procedures of cooperation for such case as a participating member state may find it necessary to institute measures of comprehensive currency reforms prior to issuance of new denominations of debt obligations. Within the setting of debt reorganization actions, it is proposed that new guidelines for cooperation in mutual trade among the parties be adopted, consistent with the desire of the United States to supply capital goods exports needed for development of the internal economies of other states, and the desire of such other states to secure more efficient access to such technologies.
Unless President Reagan is willing to implement these emergency actions immediately, the only hope of you and your family is to make certain that I am President of the United States this coming January. My colleagues and I shall do everything in our power to make that happen. Do you care enough about our country, about your family, to do your part too?
Lyndon LaRouche will address the nation again tomorrow. Tune in Saturday afternoon at 1:30 on your local NBC TV affiliate. Check local listings for the exact time. If you wish more information on the LaRouche campaign, write The LaRouche Campaign, P.O. Box 2150, GPO, New York, New York 10116. The LaRouche Campaign, P.O. Box 2150, GPO, New York, New York 10116.